So I'm back, and it's looking a lot better right now. So again, we've got our $15 bulb, the fluorescent energy saver daylight bulb. It's gauged for 5200 degrees. That might mean something to the video people out there. In any event, it just says daylight on it, and it costs 15 bucks, and I bought it at the Home Depot. Again, we just white balanced using our piece of Kleenex, and it turned out pretty well for not having to buy a white balance card like some might say that you need. And we've got it sitting on the mic stand. Now, just looking at the light right now, it looks okay. It looks a lot better than it did. I'm certainly more well lit than I was in the beginning. I'm not as blue now that I've done my white balance, so the white balance has turned out well. But it's a little bit bright. So I'm going to see what I can do about that. I'm going to take the light back off. We're going to go blind for a minute here as we talk. But I think I've got a way to figure that out too, so hang on. Okay. The beauty of the fluorescent bulbs as opposed to the tungsten bulbs, which is what you'd be burning, say, in your house while you're reading by the fireplace or something, is that they're very, very cool to the touch. I just took this off the stand and it's been burning for about 5 minutes or so, maybe a little less, but I can easily touch the outside of this bell here, and I can feel here, my hand, it's okay, so I'm going to touch the bulb a little bit, which is a no-no with a lot of lights because it'll kill their lifespan, but I'm doing it anyway. And it's just a little bit warm to the touch. And that's the beauty of fluorescent over what they call hot lights or tungsten hot lights, is that they burn cool. So you can put them very, very close to actors, very close to whoever the subject is, and they won't sweat, their makeup won't run, things won't become uncomfortable, and you can take the lights off the stands without burning your hands. Okay, so we thought that the light, or at least I thought the light was a little bit harsh, a little bit bright. This just has a little switch here, I'm going to turn it on. And as you can see, it's very harsh light beaming down. Let me see if I can get my hand in there. You'll see the shadows, very, very heavy, or going to be very heavy on the wall. All right, so the question is, how can we tone that down? I was watching another guy's video site, and he had a really good idea, but it all comes from the same thing, and it's called diffusion. He was using some parchment paper. I happen to only have some tracing paper on hand, which is from one of your basic tracing boards right here that you'd buy at, say, like an artist store. And it's relatively cheap stuff. It's very thin paper. To show it to you here, very thin paper. Diffusion, what it does is it makes the light less, as lighting guys call it, specular, or what normal people would call harsh. All right, so it forces the light through something which breaks up the light rays, makes it a bigger source, and if there's a bigger source of light, then it tends to wrap around objects. So it wouldn't be so harsh like this. What you get instead is the light wrapping around the hand a little more gracefully. So I've got this parchment paper. Now the beauty of the cool light from this fluorescent is that it won't burn the paper, or shouldn't burn the paper. You should never leave anything unattended when it comes to lights because they can get hot. This is a little bit warm. But I think I've found a way to do something here. I was working on it a little bit earlier. What I did was I took this paper right here, took a clothespin, all right, and what I did was I put the paper in the clothespin like that, and the paper, when I ballooned it out, when I had it on the stand, it sat like this, all by itself. I didn't have to jack it out with anything. I suppose maybe you could take another clip here and somehow try to jack the paper out, but it sat nicely away from the element right here. There wasn't that much heat, and it didn't burn. I let it sit for about 10-15 minutes. I took the paper off. The paper wasn't warm to the touch at all. So it's fantastic. So let's see what our diffusion does for us now. All right, so we're back, and from the look of things, I think we're doing pretty good. The diffusion added a nice touch of softness around the face here. It's wrapping around a little bit better. I'll throw up another look at the without fusion, and diffusion, and you can decide. The thing about diffusion is this as well. Don't forget, you can add more. All right, if you're not bringing it down enough stops, what they call stops or f-stops, which just means making the light less bright in layman's terms, you can add another piece of diffusion and even another on top of that. Now don't forget that may affect your exposure in the camera and also your white balance as well, the more diffusion you add. You can also take a light like this, bounce it off the floor, the ceiling, a mirror, a piece of white board, to get a reflection cast back on a person to tone things down. But I think the diffusion is done pretty well. I'll take a look at it afterwards in Final Cut before I throw this on the net to see which one I like more. Maybe it wasn't that bright to begin with. You never really know, which is why you should use an external monitor or throw it into your editing program and have a quick look, much like taking a Polaroid before doing a still camera shoot, just to see what you might get. Anyway, I think we've done pretty well considering we had, what did we have? We had our element, we had our diffusion, which was a piece of tracing paper from an art book. We had the bell, the lampshade that I bought on the same shelf, which is used in a garage. So that was $15. The element, $15. Tracing paper, probably about 10 cents worth of paper. We've got our lamp over here as a soft fill. It's a regular desktop lamp, which I took off the desk that was already in the room. That's maybe 8 to 12 bucks. And we've got our clothespin, which is maybe 2 cents. A pack of 50, I think, at the dollar store runs you, I think, 1 or 2 bucks. And behind me, we also have those lamps, which are acting as a backlight right now, but they were already in the room, so I'm not taking those into account. So, can you light an individual to throw on the web for under 50 bucks? Or never mind the web, for anything. I think the image looks pretty good. I think the answer is yes. Now, the reason the good lights cost so much is because they are good. There's another thing, it's called the prestige of the light, or the presence of the light, much like, you can have a really great camera at a wedding, but if somebody owns that same camera and you're shooting a wedding or something, and they're in the room and they also own that, they automatically don't think you're a great photographer, because if they have what you have, how can you be a pro? And that's what I think comes into play a lot with production work, is that can you get away with a $15 element and a $15 lampshade and use it as a light? Absolutely. Would you set it up for a client? Absolutely not. You would use it in a pinch, maybe as a background light. But putting that on a client when they can see that it's obviously worth $15 to $20 is not a good idea. So it is necessary to show that you make money because you're good at something. That's a basic reality. But to get away with it for the web, or if you're an amateur, if you like playing around with friends, or if you just want to put up something quickly, or in a pinch, if something goes down and you absolutely have to do it, can you do it for less than 50 bucks? Absolutely, especially in an interview setting or a one-on-one setting such as this. Anyway, I hope maybe you learned something if you cared to. If not, maybe I'll do better next time. We'll save you some more money as more tips and clues I learn around the net or in the world. I'll bring them to you when I have them as well. So we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.